Yo, what makes me a girl boss?
Brag. This is your time to brag.
Bozza lama, Bozza, eh. Bozza lama, Bozza, eh. Fate be better than you think.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to sit with me and let me get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been quite interested in, the difference between the public persona and, the identity that everybody kind of identifies with you and who you are as a person. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Okay.
That's the beginning of the 20s.
Yes.
Just the beginning.
Yeah. Do you feel comfortable also with the level of success of everything that you've achieved to this point?
No, I feel like there are lots of pinnacles that I still plan to reach. I think naturally because I'm from a home where we're just extremely competitive. We've just always been that way. Like we take after my mom. And being in the industry I'm in, it's no coincidence that I'm extremely competitive, and that is actually my comfort zone. Feeling that pressure helps me push far much more, and it keeps me driven and it keeps me hungry. So yeah.
And it's interesting that you talk about how you're kind of comfortable with pressure because that's what keeps you going.
Yeah.
It keeps you alive. And the industry that you've chosen to get into is a very high pressure industry. So I wanted to find out why why did you choose music? Like, what was it about music that you identified with and you felt like this is something that I can do?
Karl Marx has a saying about how religion is the opium of the people. And I always felt that music was in fact the opium of the people. Because regardless of what social structure you're from, the one thing that brings people together is music. I've always wanted to be able to touch people's lives in a way that is universal, in a way that everyone can relate to it. And the best way I could have done that was music. So initially, there were so many, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I thought I wanted to become a pathologist at some point. Then it was journalism, and then there was just this weird gift that my teacher discovered of writing. I was just extremely good at creative writing, poetry, and eventually I found myself listening to a lot of hip hop and rap music, and it was just easy for me to put words together. So with this thing in the back of my mind where I really wanted to change people's perspectives and I wanted people to feel a certain way and I wanted to become their opiate, I felt that music was the best thing to go into, because it's the one thing that brings people together when religion can't, when political differences can't, when color doesn't, social structures. Music is the one thing that people can relate to all over the world.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, like the career choices that you mentioned that you considered.
Yeah.
They all have to do with connecting with people.
Definitely.
Yeah, so you've always had that drive in you to connect with people in some way.
Yeah.
So what is your relationship with music? What's your creative process? Like, how do you, and how did that start? Because, obviously I think your creative process now will be different to the way it started.
Yeah.
So how did it start? How did it grow? And what's it like now?
So the musical process actually started with poetry. So I was in grade 5 and I was sent home to write this poem about Valentine's Day. I came back, my teacher thought I plagiarized, and they searched all over the internet and they couldn't find anything. So she decided to keep me in for break and gave me 2 more topics to write about. And that's when she made the phone call to my mom, which was just like, there's something weird going on with your child. Don't understand this, but she seems to be able to write really well.
Wow.
And after that we got to the point where she started training me at school during break time around writing poetry. And in that year I got my first poem published at the Poetry Institute of Africa. That was called Mother of Us All. It was on pollution, and I was 11 at the time. And then Valentine's Day, which was the one I did, and then something on spring has sprung. And then obviously started now developing into music, and I had a lot of things to say about the environment I was in. I was a girl who grew up in the township, going into a Model C school, walking into a classroom, and you find yourself in situations where you're the only black girl at the spelling bee. You're the only black girl representing in predominantly white spaces, like spelling bees, like things as weird as the swimming team, and I had something to say about that. because I was from such a, almost there was this duality that I was living in constantly, being at home in the township and going to a very good school. And I wanted to write about it, and eventually, because of the richness in musical culture in my parents' home, from Soul Brothers to Tracy Chapman to UB40, everything, I found myself expressing my feelings in music. And it grew into the mainstream in 2016, and I think that was the point when my life changed. And my mother realized that although she wanted a dream for me to go to a traditional university, she felt that I needed to do music.
So your parents were very supportive.
My mother, yes.
Yeah, okay, your mom
my
was
mom,
very supportive.
my mom was super, super supportive. Like, she always knew. And I know it's a bit controversial, I always say this, but the only wish my mom had for me was to graduate at a traditional university and bring a degree home, because I was the first person who was afforded the opportunity to go to a traditional university where I worked hard enough to at least get in. So I knew that even though there would have been a point that I felt like dropping out, it was never an option, because I knew that even though my mom would have accepted it, because I was doing music, she wouldn't have been happy about it. So that's why I felt like I needed to do the 4 years with the honors and everything attached, get the nice degree on her wall, and walk away and do music, and it worked out just fine.
And you're very close, it sounds like you two are very close.
Super close, man. She's my, she's my everything. She's my everything. I think people call her the hip hop mom, because she's always had that hand in a lot of our lives, a lot of your favorite hip hop artists, where people were stranded, their parents didn't believe in their goals, so they'd like come and sleep over, or she'd like help with studio time and take out a little bit of money. So she's always been dubbed this hip hop mom because of her love for hip hop. And she's always been caught in these hip hop spaces. I'm not so sure she understands half the time what's happening around her, but that's the personality she's taken on with the greater hip hop society in South Africa.
That's incredible, actually.
Yeah.
And she sounds like definitely one of your role models. And when I think about, you're definitely, because of your upbringing and the environment, and you were so exposed to the contrast between the suburban life and where you grew up. And in my mind, your role models would be very diverse. You have a very diverse array of role models. People that you look up to. So I'm wondering who your role models are, both musically and generally. Who are the people that kind of inspired your art and what you believe in?
So I mean, people have picked it up a lot. I think it's such a mixture of your Bob Marleys, your Tupac Shakurs, your Lauryn Hills, and probably a little bit of Brenda Fassie in there, because my sound as a hip hop artist is very localized. I pride myself in the fact that I can speak so many languages and I rap in so many languages. So because of that, then people will pick up the fact that I do believe there needs to be a message in music, like Bob Marley. I believe in the localization of hip hop. That's a Brenda Fassie. Tupac Shakur, I'm a product of society. Society makes me, and that needs to be seen through my music. And so I think Lauryn Hill, one of the greatest MCs of all time. She's amazing, and she taught the black woman about how beautiful she was, even in her so-called imperfections. So it's very diverse. And then politically, obviously, and Angela Davis, she's my spirit animal. And mommy, just to put it in the mix. For the one with the least followers, mommy.
Okay, so you've touched on the different genres.
And
you obviously are not just strictly hip hop. You're inspired by all sorts of different genres. And when I think about hip hop specifically, it places a lot of emphasis on the importance of the people that you keep around you. And I'm going to shift the direction a little bit now and talk about in conjunction your personal life in conjunction with your career, because it's so important, I think, to keep a level head to some certain extent. And what do you think, how do you think, the squad, as we would call it these days, how do you think that contributes to the way that you function in your work and your personal life and your mental health in general?
Unfortunately or unfortunately, I'm one of those people who believe that, if it's rotten, cut it off. So, I mean, I've never had issues with detaching myself from energies, people, things that don't make sense with what my original dream or vision is. So I find myself surrounded by a lot of people who are older than me, wiser than me, have got more experience than me, because I find that I won't live long enough to make all my mistakes. And they tend to have a very positive outlook on life in comparison to where I'm at. So I saw this very interesting tweet the other day. Sizwe Lomo had tweeted about how when you're a 90s child, at this point in time, in 2018, 2019, you feel like the world is against you, nothing's going right, you're not getting a project, you're not getting enough money, there's black tax and there's so much black child, it's going to be okay. And for him just to say something like that, being somebody from a different generation, makes me understand how important it is to have those voices in my life, not just people my age going through the same things that I'm going through, understanding the world to be, our realities tend to be the same when we grow up together and are in the same spaces together. So definitely, my energies, the people I keep around me, I think are very important, and they help me stay level-headed. So I don't have any friends in the industry. I have acquaintances and people, industry friends, but I don't have any friends in the industry. The reason for that is because I like to stay grounded. I like to remember where I'm from, but also where I'm going. People often think when you are an artist and you have so many followers, what next? You've reached the roof, and that's far from the truth. It's very easy for people to think that, but I believe that when you're an artist, there's just a greater mountain to climb, because you're trying to prove that you're not just an artist, you're somebody who can help people, you're business minded, you don't fall into all the the stigmas around drugs and substance abuse and everything else that happens to a lot of artists, because that's naturally the discourse around us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now to touch on something that's a little bit quite sensitive, it's very personal, so I'm going to ask you anyway. Because you went through the highlight of the recent Gigi Lamayne highlight was your suicide attempt that's been all over social media, and everybody has had their own opinions of what you were going through, and I get the sense from you that you are very protective of your experiences, and you're not just going to blab to people out there. But something that intense and having that experience whilst being in the public eye, what's that been like, and how did you get through it? I know it's probably something that you're still getting through, but how has managing that, how's that been?
I am in a good space right now, but I cannot ignore the fact that that is part of one of the pages of my book, and it was an awakening for me. I suffered a lot with anxiety, and I think it was a very big existential crisis I was going through. So just the idea that, okay, is this all I'm meant to do? I can't help anyone, I have no control over anything, and I have had a very, very, very traumatic past and upbringing. So I think that was my time to almost crash and reset, to acknowledge that a lot of things happened to me, and it's not because I deserved it, it's because it was there to make me stronger. And going forward, how do I help other people, deal with what, not get over, but deal with what they were going through. So I know a lot of people did have opinions about it, but what really stuck out for me is the fact that there is now a conversation about depression and anxiety in the post-colony, in black homes, and I think that is what our creator wanted. Somebody needed to spark that conversation. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I was the sacrificial lamb, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because now I feel like I have a sense of purpose. So even after that, there are a few initiatives that I'll be, participating in alongside some very, various sectors, corporate and government, to shed light on it, to bring awareness to it. So I think I can't really say unless you're like a super fan, but the super fans kind of understood what the build-up was like. Whether it was social media pressures, whether it was the body shaming experience I went through, where somebody very influential attacked me and I had to attack her back. Whether it was the abuse, that I went through with my father, my mom's cancer situation, so many things, that had contributed to forming what people know as being Gigi Lamayne, and I think I've come back stronger from it. And it's so weird how the universe conspires, because now there's so many people that were taken out of my life, but so many amazing people that were brought into my life, and I've just become extremely skeptical of everyone. But I think it's important because I wasn't guarding my peace at the time, and now I can finally do that and step back and decide whether somebody's good or bad for me. So yeah.
That's quite amazing. Also to actually survive and come out through the other end, and to be able to see the big picture and see that this made me better in a way. What was your first thought when you woke up in hospital?
That's so I was in a lot of pain. I was in a lot of pain, and there was some meds they gave me, and I was just like really chilled about everything, and I was just happy that nothing happened.
Yeah.
But I woke up, my mom was there, and she was actually coming from a brain tumor in Cape Town at the time. So it was pretty hard for us. I'm glad I've come to a point where I can talk about it and not cry.
Yeah.
But I guess it was so enlightening to see who was around me at that particular time. People who took time to come and see me, whether it was phone calls or like in person. So I mean, my eyes were opened a lot, and it's just something I'm never willing to go through, but I feel like I had to go through it to make a change in the world. So
when you talk about those things that contributed to that build up, the things that added onto the anxiety, and depression, all of that. Obviously, it's not things that are of the past. Those are things that will still be going on today. How do you combat that now?
I am so desensitized to a lot of things, but I think it's impossible to be fully desensitized. Something does get to you. But I started controlling my environment a lot, whether it's virtually on social media or just around me. And as funny as it seems, I remember mentioning this to someone. I can sit and go through memes for like a good 2 hours and laugh on my own, and everyone's like, what is she laughing at? And those are ways of controlling my environment. And just beginning to appreciate myself. If I don't appreciate myself, nobody else does. And there are hundreds of thousands of young people across the continent who look up to me. And if something happens to me, what happens to them? Because the fabrics that I put my music on, the DNA is a DNA that runs through them. And if I fail, they fail ideologically, because there's nobody else to look to who succeeds, who looks like them, acts like them, has been through the same situations as them. So it's almost like an obligation now for me to get through this life thing, make a difference, so that I open the gate for other people to make that same difference. So it's just like super crazy, like the things I'm doing this year. Like I think I said, in an ad that's gonna come out about this first one-woman show I'm doing, the first in Africa, is that it almost feels like when a part of you dies, something else is resurrected, and that bit that is resurrected becomes immortal. So there is no stupid idea. Like the one-woman show in Africa, nobody had done it before. I'm 24 and I've decided to do it, and the whole industry is coming together to perform on one stage with me. And there's also like a few tours we're doing in high schools to raise awareness on depression. And before it happened, I was so scared to do a lot of things. But after it happened, it almost feels like I want to do everything to open up the industry and help people and inspire people. And what I'm going through right now is it's a crazy spiritual transition that I can never explain to anyone. It feels out of body even though I'm in the body now, and it gets you asking questions about purpose and whether you're doing enough. I get it, Gigi's got hundreds of thousands of followers, but what's a picture to you if you can't take somebody to school? If you can't make somebody believe that she can be dark-skinned and chubby and be the greatest thing ever to come out of the music industry. And I think that's my life goal, and that's what I've decided to do post that. It's almost as if I was born again. I was born again.
That's amazing that there's something positive that comes out of something that
Like
just
that,
seems
yeah.
so dark and gloomy to everybody. That it's maybe something that you had to experience for yourself just to kind of get you to, I don't know, like a reset button or lighting a fire.
Reset button, definitely.
And so that sounds to me, is that what keeps you going? Is that what drives you to keep going despite the cyberbullying and all that stuff? Is that
Definitely,
what keeps you going?
that is what keeps me going. I think the social reject has the power to do anything because nothing is expected of them. You're expected to fail. You're expected to never finish the race. So because there are no positive expectations from you, there are no boundaries for you.
Yeah.
And when you hit those boundaries, it's equally as shocking to people.
Yeah.
Ricky Rick, Nasty C, Casper and the Best, aka are the only hip hop artists in South Africa to have taken the chance to try and fill up any space. To have like-minded kids doing that. Why haven't the girls decided to do that?
And you want to be that.
I want to be that girl. And all the girls in mainstream, your Fifi Coopers, Nadia Nakai, Nomusi Rouge, are joining me on the same stage to do that.
I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
I just have 2 more questions.
Yeah.
First, I want to know, did you see yourself becoming a role model? Did you ever think that this is, you would be a role model?
Yo, I just want to be some girl's best friend that she ever met.
Yeah.
That's all I want to be. I appreciate people saying I'm a role model, but I want you to relate to me more than anything.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. I make mistakes too, but I want you to listen to me, my music, and you must be my friend Cho.
She knows me.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think for me, that's it. I appreciate the role model thing, but I just want to be the girl next door who could be your best friend if we meet in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is the one thing that you believe that every young woman of color should grow up or should have, just innately have in their spirit, something that they should know growing up, something they should always have with them?
You gave birth to mankind so you can do whatever you want to do with mankind.
Yes.
You gave birth to mankind. There is nothing that could ever stop a woman from shining, from succeeding, except herself. Because you created everything around us.
What's your definition of girl boss?
Girl boss. There is a goddess in me and therefore I can do anything.
Yeah.
Plain, simple, I am a demigod. I am capable of doing anything if I put my mind to it. That's what I believe.
And I concur. It's been amazing talking to you. And I look forward to seeing everything that.
And I hope you're gonna attend the show.
Where is it?
It's in Joburg. It's gonna be there.
Yeah.
In May.
You know what? I'll have to. I'll be there.
Please.
I'll come out. Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching. This has been Gigi Lamayne. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next video. Bye.
Bozza Lama, Bozza, hey. Baby better than your friend.
And what makes you a girl boss?
Southside with
Yo.
the dummy.
What makes me a girl boss?
Brag. This is your time to brag. This is when we always encourage and ask people.
I'm immortal. I survived today.
Yes. Yes.
That is the realest answer I've ever given.
Yes.
I'm immortal. I survived then.
Yes, you did.
He was just like, not now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Deep Nabangani Bam. Southside where the cheese at. Mouse trap where the fiends at. Honey boo where the bees at.